So this screencast is about working with Jade, and Jade is a language. Uh, Jade is a template language or template engine, as they like to call it. So if you go to the Jade side, it will explain how Jade works. It's kind of handy to go through this side and to kind of get how Jade works. So you have this doctype HTML and it becomes doctype HTML but with the tags. So the main difference between Jade and HTML is that you don't have these tags, but also that you don't have these closing tags. So you will see that in this Jade template there is actually no closing tags because they get generated automatically. So HTML is very verbose in a way, while Jade is, like they say, a terse and simple templating language. I will write some Jade and then you will see how it works. So let's make a new template in our project, and I will call it new template. And we're extending a layout default. I think that's something that we will get to soon, extending. But let's first start by typing some basic HTML. So let's go into our new template, and as you can see, there is nothing on the screen. So I will type some HTML, like for example, a paragraph, and fill it with some lorem ipsum. So we have one second. So we have our lorem ipsum here. And let's say we want to add an unordered list. So we would do something like ul li and then add list items. So instead of as we would do in HTML, we would type p and then this. Don't know what's going on there. Okay, and we would type something like what we typed here. This would be the equivalent in HTML of the code that's here. So the nice thing about Jade is that it's quite easy to type. Like I just added 5 list items in a few seconds, while if I would have to do it in HTML, well, it's kind of about the same, but I would have to work just a bit harder because of the nature of HTML. Because if you want to add a div, you kind of have to indent everything and close the div, whereas in Jade, you just have to add the div and indent everything, and that's it. The markup you are typically writing is not div, p, and ul, so you're gonna want to use classes, possibly IDs sometimes. And I don't really use a lot of IDs nowadays, but imagine you wanna write an ID like div ID container, you would write it like this. So if we were to go in the source code of this template, you will see that it actually expands to div ID container. But maybe I want to make this a class .container, and this also happens to be a class in Bootstrap that kind of limits the width. So let's continue along that line and use Bootstrap's grid system to kind of divide our content into two columns. So we have a column that is 3 columns wide, that maybe contains this navigation here, and a column that is a column that is 9 column units wide, that contains this content. Then maybe typically we would have something like a page title, and then this would maybe contain links. So how would you exactly add links here? Well, what you could do is add an A element and the space between the word or your content and the element defines that this is a new element. So it's kind of like syntax based or white space based, this language. If you change the white space to anything else than what is accepted by the template engine, it's gonna complain. So it's kind of difficult to write Jade, I guess. Like let's say you do something like this where your white space is all messed up, it's gonna mess up your page. So you're supposed to be very orderly, and it kind of forces you to be very neat in the way you do your markup. So let's imagine that this this situation repeats itself. It's kind of confusing or it's kind of annoying to do the same 5 times over. So what I'm gonna do in this case is that I'm gonna use a column to kind of put this on the same line. So it's kind of like a shortcut that you can use in Jade to put things on the same line. And as you can see, here we have our navigation item in progress. Because we are working in columns, now I can add an href, and now these links will look clickable. And maybe we will add some classes from Twitter Bootstrap to kind of make this nice. Stacked nav, I think that's an extension of pills. And then we can have the first one to be active. So this one says item 1. What if I want to have the others to say item 2, item 3, item 4? It's kind of annoying as well. So what we could do is create a loop. It's kind of more advanced Jade, but I will show you how. So you could do something like each index in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and loop over index, and voila, you have it, but everything is active. So we will remove the active state and then maybe only make the first one active. So the way you could do that is by introducing some logic. And the syntax for this is quite, well, it's not difficult, but it's something you would have to know. So what you can do, it's like the shorthand syntax for if in JavaScript. So what you can do is index equals 0, active, else nothing. So for those people who write JavaScript often, this will be logical, and for people who don't really write JavaScript often, you will have to learn how to do this. So let's see what's going wrong here. Maybe the index has to be 1. No. I even messed up the syntax. So that's what you're supposed to do. Index equals 1. Okay, so it's a bit of a more difficult part of Jade, I think, but for those people who write JavaScript all day, it might be easier. So let's continue building our page, and I will show you some other parts of Jade that might be handy. So let's say we have different paragraphs here, and let's add soft wrapping in our editor so we can actually see what we're doing. So you have these different paragraphs, and maybe you wanna put something on a new line. So what you could do is use the this character, the pipe character, to separate your lines. So what the pipe character does is just provide a way to separate your lines, but the lines won't actually be separated until you maybe add a BR element. So now the lines are actually separated. So let's put this in like a pre and code tag, so it looks like you're writing some code. And then maybe let's add another row here where we have a logo, and then maybe here we also have some kind of navigation going on, or some kind of tagline, like see, that is kind of ugly. I think I'm gonna remove that and just keep that logo here, which is also kind of ugly, so I'm gonna remove all of it. So what else can I tell you about Jade?